Hello.
Hey, my name is Marcus and this is Servant King. These are the Transform programs. This program is called Right or Wrong. How do we know what is right or wrong? We would say what is right is good, what is wrong is bad, evil, no good. Everyone would like to think that what they do in life is doing what's right. And they would think that they stay away from doing what is wrong. But we are all born with a mindless mind. And there's no innate quality of right or wrong in man. So how do we learn what is right or wrong? Well, someone has to tell us. Or we have to learn through some experience. But who gets to determine what is right and what is wrong? Because if we're taught by our parents or schools or teachers or religions what is right or wrong, where did they get what is right and wrong? Because we're all born with this mindless mind. We learned this in the first program. So it has to be revealed to us. Some things we can see, that's right, that's wrong. And then in a moral sense of what you can do and what you can't do, that's got to be revealed to us. A little child that has no idea what is right or what is wrong. So the law we've practiced our whole life, I've come to learn, has nothing to do with what is right or what is wrong. But real law is completely about what is right or wrong, which I also learned. So let me explain. We think if what we do is legal, that's legal, well, I'm doing what's right. And that's illegal. And if there's something illegal, no, that's wrong. You can't do that. That's illegal. But a criminal that's in jail, if he wants to get out on parole or early release, he's got to go before a parole board, and he's got to say, you know, what I've done I know is wrong, and I won't do it again, and, you know, be sorry, and so forth. He doesn't go before the parole board and say, well, I know what I did was illegal. No, he actually says what I did was wrong. But you see, lawyers are taught in law school not to think in terms of right or wrong. They're told to totally disregard whatever they think is right or wrong. They can only look at what's legal or illegal. So it's also well known that a defense or a criminal defense to some crime you've committed is, if you didn't know what you were doing was right or wrong, you can't tell the difference between right or wrong. You can't be held criminally accountable. They're actually called, that individual would be called criminally insane, because he has no concept of what's right or wrong. So if lawyers are taught to disregard right or wrong, why are we thinking in terms of right or wrong? We should just think in terms also of what's legal or illegal. Now, why is our law doesn't have anything to do with what is right or wrong? Well, because our laws change. So at one time, this is legal, and the next day or next month or next year, it's illegal. Well, if you're thinking in terms of right or wrong, people that used to smoke marijuana or grow marijuana or whatever and been charged and spent years in jail and all this kind of stuff, well, now it's legal. So what they did back then was right. It's right now. So you see, right and wrong has nothing to do with legal or illegal. Legal or illegal is just the law, the rules in the hands of man. And if the rules can change, it's not really real law, because real law never changes. The rule never changes in real law. So I hope you're starting to see how evil this is, that, you know, people have spent years in jail and lost everything, and then, oh, next year, oh, now it's legal. That's not really a good thing, is it? Let us begin with the most fundamental truth of what is right, proper, and obvious justice. Real law has to do with what is right and wrong, and the law you've practiced your whole life has nothing to do with what is right or wrong. So the most fundamental principle of justice is this: whoever makes something is its maker. You know, brings it into existence or into being. And this maker is its owner. And owner means it belongs just to him, just to you. And only you have the right to rule over it. Nobody else. You can't rule over someone else's property. That would be wrong. And whatever rule you would make would always be right. If someone else, other than the maker, rules over it, well, that's wrong. You're trespassing on someone else's property. You didn't make that. That's not yours. So now you know who gets to decide what is right or wrong. Whoever made it. Now, I remember explaining in one of the other programs that whenever you have a problem or a dilemma or trying to understand a concept, you want to go to what's called first principle or first cause or origin. Always start at the beginning in order to see something clear. If you start in the middle, you're going to be muddled. You're going to go around in circles. So we always go to the origin of something. So now we have a choice to make. Does everything that exists, and things do exist, have a maker? Did something make everything, right? Or did it come into existence without a maker? Now, the first scenario, let's just assume that there is a maker, and we'll call that God. We've heard God, you know, he created the heavens and the earth, and he's our maker, okay? And he tells us he made everything. So he has rules that we have to obey, and he alone can be righteous because, well, he made everything. I can't make the rule over it because it's not mine. So now, based on these rules, we know what we can do and what we can't do. Now, that would be right and wrong. Not legal or illegal. That would just be right or wrong. Now, in the second scenario, if there is no God, no maker of everything, well, there's only us people here. That's it. There is no God. Nobody believes in God. It's too hard a concept to understand. And it is called a truism or a self-evident truth that all man is created equal. One man is not superior to another or inferior to another. But if there is no maker and he has no rules, then what is right and what is wrong? And every man being created equal would be a law unto themselves. We can kill each other, we can steal from each other. In fact, the preamble to every sort of justice system in the world starts with, you know, there has to be rules that man and societies and civilization have to live by, because if there wasn't, we could kill each other and steal from each other. People would not have to keep their agreements or their contracts, and life would be chaos, you know. So this is the whole reason for a justice system, for rules, for laws to be made. But in order for a justice system to come about, and for there to be rules so we can all live a good life, there has to be one single owner, some being, something, that makes the rules, and we have to obey the rules of this new owner, or I guess we'll call it a God, you know, something that's superior to us. And that's in fact what we do. We make ourselves a God, and we're all forced to obey this God. This God we make owns everything and makes the rules. But we never think of it as a God. And the reason we never think of it as a God is because it's not really God, but it is in practice our God. So let me tell you this. And this you can figure out for yourself. Whoever owns everything you have, and whoever's rules you obey, that is in fact your God. Yeah? Yes, that is who governs everything that you have, including you. You see, God says and tells us that He is our King, Judge, and Lawgiver. Well, King, Judge, and Lawgiver are the three branches of every government in the world. Let me say that again. king, judge, and lawgiver are the three branches of government. Of government. Of government. Starting to get it? God is your government. Just like here in Canada, who's your government? Well, it's Her Majesty the Queen. She's the king, queen, judge, and lawgiver. She owns everything. She's our God. And we all play the role of being her son, son of Canada. She's the head of Canada. And this is why I said at one point, I said, if I was going to write a book about everything I'd learned, it would be called Government is Your God. Is God your government? You see, we never think of our government as being our God. And yet it is the supreme law. It is the three branches of government. And the identity that you have, which is a fictional identity, is called a government-issued identification. Let me say that again. Government-issued identity. The same way that God on the sixth day created man in his own image and likeness. Your real being is a government-created identity, a God-created identity, created in the image or likeness of. And that should be a big clue as to why a person is a fictional being. So this is a cruel hoax that's been played on everyone, and it's worldwide. And no religions can figure this out. I think they're all part of it, right? So in the end, I look around the world and I go, nobody believes in God. And I'm going to elaborate on this through the Enlightened program so that you understand exactly what I'm saying and you'll be able to see it more clearly, right? Nobody lives by the rules of God. Nobody. Oh, you got freedom of religion and you think right away, oh, that means I can obey the law of God and so forth. No, nothing to do with that, right? No, there is no God. There's only us people here. It's complete secular of the world, legal or illegal. And when you look over the centuries of what the rules and the laws are, and we used to kill people and have slavery and wars, and anyways, it goes on and on. No, we've all been taught and educated by schools and every religion about theories like evolution. How do we come into being? They're all just theories. We, of course, think it's science because we teach it in school. But they're just all theories, and they all destroy or create reasonable doubt, I guess you would call, on the Word of God. And we as man, we think we can decide, the Word of God, what God's revealing to us. Is it true? Isn't it true? What will I believe? What won't I believe, right? Now, through the Enlightened programs, I will take you through a process of logic and knowledge that any man's mind can comprehend. But as it relates to what you think of as law or the rules that we are to live by, I'm going to show you what man does in order to create what we call rule of law or a justice system. You see, it is only by understanding what we actually do, which are all the things you're not supposed to know. You're never supposed to understand that, God gave you one face and you make yourself a second face, another identity. There's two of you, one you are, the other one you appear. You're not supposed to know this stuff. The illusions we live are just so darn normal, right? But I'm going to take you through a number of programs now and show you in detail through the next programs how we create our own God and our own maker, our own owner and maker. Yeah, we actually create a counterfeit of the whole system of real law. But until you can see that, you don't see it. So that's why I say the illusion is so normal that no one can see it. I was 50 years old. I didn't have any idea until I started seeing it. And everything that I'm going to show you is actually available for us to learn or see. But like I said, it's everything that's been put in our brain. We just can't seem to grasp these things, right? So, now, do you think it is right to have something or someone rule over you that did not make you? When there's actually someone who made you, they don't get to rule over you. but somebody else or something else gets to rule over you. No, you'd say that's wrong, right? You see, right away now we're into what's right or what's wrong. Do you think you should make yourself a fictional being and pretend to be it? No, that would be a lie, that would be a fraud, just not right. That would be wrong. You see? And yet in our legal system, what you are, who you are, has nothing to do with your legal system. But you are needed to pretend or appear to be and be treated as if you're this fictional imaginary being, right? Which is the person, the mask, and so forth, right? So you see, there's no morality involved in determining whether these things are right or wrong. Yeah. There's no morality behind that. You just know that to pretend to make a being, a fictional being, and pretend to be it, and then when it's called or summons the court, you appear as it, you pretend to be it, right? You're the actual attorney, the actor, playing the role or the character. You'd go, well, that's wrong. That's not me. Why do I have to do this through a fraudulent identity? You see, no morality there. You would just say, well, that's not right. That's wrong. And that's what I mean by most things in real law, you can see whether they are right or they are wrong. So the purpose of the Transform programs is to make you see this. Yeah. And once you do, you'll fall off your chair in disbelief. And you'll say to yourself, how can the whole world be deceived? And they really are. And the ones that aren't deceived, have sort of been taught and sort of know what's going on, they've rationalized away why we do this and think it's all right. But when you fully understand it, there's nobody that will be able to convince you and say, well, that's okay, that's right. Especially when there's a right system, the right law, the real law, right? So by the time you go through each program and can see that this is what's happening in your everyday life, you will say to yourself, this is all wrong. And when you can see that's all wrong because the foundation is wrong and everything on it. So after this video here, I did 2 programs and they're called Likeness, Part 1 and Part 2. I'm going to show you that every being has the likeness of its maker. Yeah, you'll be able to see it because it's reality. Simple. Dogs, horses, birds. Every being has the likeness of who made it, right? No being comes into existence by itself. No being is self-made. So in other words, this is the law. And when I say this is the law, it would be like a mother and a father made these 2 children. And they own those 2 children. They rule over these 2 children. Nobody else can because nobody else made them except, I guess, God, right? Which is the government. And they can rule over the whole creation. And then I will show you what you've been doing your whole life. And you will say this is insane. Yeah. And you will see that in your legal system, we have to make our maker. Yeah. Now, how insane is that? Yes, we have to make our maker, our owner. We have to pretend to be the son of an imaginary father from whom our rights and duties come. We end up by creating a society, a community, a country, a nationality. Instead of out of one, we become many. No, there is no one. So out of many, we become the one, which is actually a motto of the United States, e pluribus unum, out of many, we are one. And it's that one that everyone obeys. And of course, that one is also what God calls a graven image, because we all have the likeness of this image. And that's what we bow down and serve. Everybody obeys the American Constitution, American law, right? So we become the actor playing the role of a character that we imagine. We pretend to be and appear to be by making an appearance when the fictional character is summoned. This process is called an atonement. We acknowledge a new father and our maker as Lord. We become in reality an attorney, an actor in the place of another. This is why I said, God gave you one face and you make yourself another. This is also why I said, did you know there are 2 of you? One you are, and the other one you appear as. You see, we have to create a counterfeit system. We have to create a being that we can rule over. And you're not supposed to know that it's not you, right? It's all, well, it's actually witchcraft and the practice of the occult. But when I say things like that, people go, well, that's too weird. Well, but you see, in your statutes and laws, it doesn't say no attorney shall do this or that, right? See, it's not you that's being charged with anything. It's not you that has a benefit or a right of anything, because it's not you that's the son of a country. That's a fictional being, and you're acting by and through this son. And it's because of this son who has a father. The father gives rights and duties to the son, and you assume the rights and duties of this son. Hence, you are called the person, by and through the son. So, an attorney has to act according to statute. A person's a fictional being. So, anybody who is charged with anything and has to go to court, they are in fact the attorney of record in this matter. But of course, you don't know anything about the legal system and how the rules of evidence and the rules of procedure in the legal system. So you hire an attorney that's licensed to practice in court for you, right? So you see, your laws do not pertain to what you really are. They pertain to the fictional being you pretend to be. Now, is that right or wrong? Pretty amazing, isn't it? That who you actually are, what you actually are, is not even recognized by your country, by your government, and so forth. But you are needed. Oh, you're needed, because a fictional being can't do anything. And this all ties into, which I'm going to explain in great detail, the commandments of God, especially the second commandment of God, which has eluded everyone. So this is pretty hard to believe. And then, after these next two transform programs called Likeness, Part 1 and Part 2, then there are 6 videos all about the concept of jurisdiction. There are actually 3 videos which I broke into Part 1 and Part 2. And they all pertain to the first principle of fundamental truth and justice, or simply put, origin. Again, who made it, owns it, rules over it. That's it. Very simple. And so I show you everything that is on the reality side of things being made by a real creator, and then I show you what we actually do. And it's by seeing what we actually do that you're going to eventually just shake your head and go, this is all wrong. Especially when there's a real system of law, when I can live a life of reality. But you see, there's reasons why man's doing what they're doing. Right, to get control of your life, your property, making people do what they want them to do, and so forth. So, like I said, always begin with the origin of something to understand it. And again, whoever owns it, makes it, owns it, rules over it. And then, after you watch those videos, and this should start to transform you a bit, then there are 3 videos called Owner, Trick, and Grace. And these 3 videos all pertain to one thing. The one thing that man can actually make. We didn't make ourselves, but a man and a woman together can make other people. They can make children. And when you see people that have children, and you see an Amber Alert on television or in the news where some 4 or 5-year-old child's been abducted and they believe the mother or the father has abducted them, I look at this and I think to myself, wow, under real law, the only ones that can rule over this child is their maker, who is their mother and father, who are the only ones that are supposed to love them. And I'm not going to get into, how demented people are and they're on drugs and they do mean, cruel things and hurt their children. Those things are all against the law too. Those aren't excuses for not obeying the law, right? Because there's laws against that too by our Creator. But I think to myself, if you can't understand what's going on in this world when it comes to your own children that you love so much, right? How are you ever going to understand the illusions we've been living our whole life? Of course they're your children. So that's why I use them as an example as I go through explaining about owner, how the trick is done, the illusion, the deception. Deception's obviously a trick, we're being fooled and so forth. And grace, of course, which is the, because you see all these things are against the law. And how do we get out of that? How do we get forgiven for breaking the law and pardoned so that we can start a real life, a new life? Well, the third one, grace, explains some of that. Most of it I will explain again during the Enlightened programs. Okay? And then I will show you in the final Transform program, I'm going to show you something that's used in the legal system of every country in the world, and it deceives you, and it's called a fiction of law. And the first time I read a fiction of law, I wasn't even looking for it. I was just happened to be in a dictionary, a law dictionary, and I see this term called fiction, and then fiction of law. And it said a fiction of law is something that is false, but we're going to treat it as if it's true. In other words, it's wrong, but we're going to treat it as if it's right. And I thought, what? That can't have anything to do with the law, or what is right or wrong, or justice, or... It went against everything my essence of being. But I didn't even know that it was being used in our legal systems at that point. So, I do now. So I will show you that, and quite a few things going on with that. And hopefully that should be the last time you fall off your chair in disbelief and say, I think I've had enough of this. Right? And then I will begin the Enlightened programs, where I will take you through a process of things that you can clearly see and undeniable logic. And of course, I, like you, were born with a mindless mind also. Yeah, Marcus was born with a mindless mind also. So I will use the highest and only authority of truth and right and wrong there is. You see, I know my limitations. I know who I am and what I am. Do you? Till then, my name is Marcus.